Sorry. Good to see you all. I was just watching myself for a minute, the way it started to make sure. Either way, hello everybody. Welcome to part 3 of our destruction of Sam Shamoun's horrific use of Bart Ehrman, where he misused, misrepresented, and basically lied about him, right? So he does what he normally does, but it was more blatant and obvious and pathetic. And another example of where Sam, even though he's good at arguing with people because he doesn't listen and he yells at him and attacks him, so he gets well known for all these abusive antics. That's all it's ever been, plus just general knowledge stuff that anyone, especially with his experience, should have had by now. But he has it, and he has that other stuff. That's Sam. So he goes after a lot of different people, and he'll just rotate around. It's only a matter of time before he comes back to you. A lot going on with Sam in different ways right now, which is very unusual, which I've been pointing out for a long time. A lot of other people see it too. So it's really nothing new. A lot of people get tired of it, because, well, he's not a good person. So why do we spend so much time with a bad person? Well, because he has remained in a religious, worshipful type environment, right? An environment where he's supposed to be a person who facilitates association, brotherliness, and puts on the best, right, of Christian presence so that people are drawn to him in spite of any imperfections that we all have. No, instead, really what we get from Sam, in addition to the horrific abuse of people like me, Bart Ehrman, you name it, right? He attacks Dan, well, he attacks everybody. And if he hasn't attacked you yet, get ready. So, why are we dealing with such a person? It's not an easy question to answer, and therefore, I'm not really going to try to do that here. We're not new to Sam here, so if you are, just understand that he has enough connections and experience and knowledge because of the experience, and he has such an extreme mental disorder, especially insecurity, vanity, he's underdeveloped. Okay, everything I'm saying is true right now. He was abandoned and abused. So as a child, you can see elements of the abuse if you just take a close look. Now, either way, you may have to endure some verbal abuse just to get that. You can mute him, but you'll see basically if you look, especially at the head, he had a problem. People say different things, right? It's kind of like the nude bathroom experience with Sam, but he doesn't deny it, and he doesn't deny any of this. So, his dad's really one of our heroes. We look to him because he understood very early on, the earliest, that this would be a problem, right? And he's just like, look, it's not what I want to do, but no. And so, anyway, without getting too deep into this, all true. So, but we have a more dignified element, right? We are dealing with Sam, as strange as it may sound, in relation to the scholarly community, And it's not that Sam doesn't know stuff in terms of what's written and things like that. He just doesn't. There are several reasons why Sam shouldn't be doing any of this, let alone taking issue with someone who's far more accomplished and put together and disciplined, and regardless of your religious, right? Sam's religious view is nothing. It's whatever he wants it to be whenever he wants it to be it. Okay. I would venture to guess someone like Bart Ehrman is far more stable in his worldview than Sam Shamoun. Yet he's such a spectacle, right? I think really at this point, that's what it is. Sam is a spectacle. And I think there's a little bit of, yeah, that's kind of how he got going in all this. In fact, another scholar, right, Dr. White, is the one, even though he's learned and, we view Dr. White's the one who really got him going and connected him, I think, and other people in that realm. Once Sam figured out how he could survive doing what he does, that was pretty much it, right? And then these connections, he went after the Muslims in ways where so many people turned a blind eye to him. And so now, of course, people also have seen what we're talking about now and still are fooled by him, right? There's something Sam's able to do because of his, he's developed a lot of trauma bonds with people. So almost everybody he ever has met, except people like me who don't get close to him, right? We just annihilate him in every way we can. He's a bad person. He doesn't contribute to society in any way. He resists the pain of taxes. He defames the government that the Bible says you're to submit to as God's servant. He abuses children live, encourages alcoholism, last call, alcohol, and going home with someone you don't know, to his underage daughters. He defames people's mothers, including mine. And he really hates himself and his own parents because of what I said earlier. He was abandoned. Right? He was left, as his mother called him, his little cow, her little cow. So, I tried to give Sam some of the parental guidance he should have received. But like I said, his dad quit on him and said no. And again, we get it. But we're here now, and we can't just leave because Sam has embedded himself where he doesn't belong and is destroying whatever he can. Because he doesn't care about himself, see? Right before I get to the article, I'll say hi to everybody. Don't worry, if anyone else is watching, just for the Bart Ehrman stuff and Sam, if you knew this was Sam, you know this isn't going to all be just scholarly review, right? Oh, it's going to have that because we're going to show that Sam doesn't really belong to doing that kind of review, right? He's gone. Nothing new there, but it's new here, and so we'll talk about it. You'll enjoy it. He's really out of sight. And a lot of stuff he says is actually, still current in Trinitarianism. Sam does know a lot of ways to argue doctrine. So he's not a full joke, right? We actually give him credit here in terms of his longevity. He's still here. It's amazing. But look at why. There's something he does, like I was saying a minute ago. He's not to be fully ignored. Now, I give him what he deserves, right? Barely, right? It's actually a lot more. But I give him, he has to be, I have to muzzle him. If I didn't do this and a few other, he would be that much more out of control. Okay? That's really the way it is. And if you don't think so, that's because you don't do anything about it, but criticize people who do. So we don't listen to you. We do what we have to do. And I've seen this long enough. I've understood this long enough. And Sam knows what he's doing. He's not stupid in that way. He just doesn't believe what he is telling you. And that really is the thing that will show through in everything he does. He has a form of godly devotion, but he always, every time, denies its power. So that's why you'll hear him pray about the same things all the time. Nothing will ever happen. It actually gets worse. All his relationships get worse. He keeps dividing everything and making it worse. And then we get him addressing people like Bart Ehrman and others who already thinks most Christians are crazy, probably, or at least a lot of us, right? Because of our devotion to things. He doesn't really believe in that way. But again, like I talked about in part 1, maybe a little in part 2, but mostly part 1, and in my Canon series videos, we don't adhere to the Bible like some Protestants and others who see it as infallible, or that we can't identify errors in the transmission in ways where it's like, oh, it's all now, not usable. No, far from it. And that's not even realistic. And so we don't adopt that view. We adopt the same view and position and means of evaluation, determining what is true, that we do for everything else. So there's no inconsistency, no hypocrisy. It's just a question of whether we're right or not. And as long as we line up, in our view, with the best available evidence, good luck trying to prove not. Now, so I'm going to say hi to everyone, and we're going to pretty much just get right to Sam, right? Because, okay, so we're doing part 3. I thought we got 2 series going right now, and we're going to be doing videos practically every day. There may be a day or so where, again, I'll do an upload or we'll skip, but for the next several weeks till September, we're going to go every day. So I just have a lot to do, and we got to get him, right? We got to just knock him out, annihilate as many videos, keep just dropping bombs, go back, clip mine him, keep dropping bombs, right? Just continue to assault his brain, right? That can't take much more. So this is a good thing. This is good for Sam. He really not only needs this, but wants it. He's actually hates everybody because they didn't do what should have happened with his parents. That's kind of what I'm getting at. So we need to try to just do what should have been done, but for the fact that his dad was a legend. Ha ha! Tribute videos coming to him at some point. Either way, we got Sam now, right? So there's a little bit of a negative there, right? It was just they'd son. Then Dr. White, right, picked him up. Even Sam kind of made that, right? He knew that Dr. White was really his first father figure, who also, in Sam's view, abandoned him. But he didn't. What happens is Sam abandons himself, except for his legendary dad, right? Can't fault him for that. But the mom, raised him as her little cow. And I don't know how, but she was able to get him at least to be a functional reject. So then he just started to pick up ways to insult people, and arguing with religious people like Watchtower people and others. They trauma bonded with Sam. If you listen to Sam carefully, he's trauma bonded with Watchtower. In part, that's why he's trauma bonded with me, because I go all the way back to his early trauma and since. But he also has another, we'll say, interest, right? He has certain emotions. And Sam's very emotional, okay? Very very reactive. So you have to think zero control, all out of control, right? So to think you're going to be able to in any way rely on him, other than that you can't rely on him, that's the only predictable element that I can see, right? Or, I mean, yeah, basically. I mean, there's specifics, right? That he's going to do certain things. But overall, in general, you should be able to predict, unless you are unless there's something else going on. There's no real rational reason to trust Sam, right? To even say that, it's like, did I just say those words together, right? So, we'll be watching some people who are going to do that, whom you might not be thinking would. No, he wouldn't do that at this point. Although I don't know. Again, Sam, he has, no, I've never denied. Okay. So in any case, we're going to get to the scholarly stuff now, and that does include Sam a little bit, but he tries, right? He tries. But if you saw parts 1 and 2, it's a catastrophe. So, and if you see him misquoting Bart Ehrman, you check his source or anything, and you see that, let me know. We'll pound him into the ground, right? So we're going to finish off all of that, the video that we've been starting on this series. Once we're done with that, if we don't finish tonight, we'll do it another part tomorrow. Just to finish it off so we don't have too many going concurrently. Once we finish this off tonight or in the next part, we're going to go back to the series we started that's related to this in some way. Well, it's around the same time. Yeah, yeah, no, it is because it involves the whole summering thing with one of one of his channel member, right? His artist, the one who makes him look like me, right? That they then denigrate. So once again, right? Anyway, we're going back to that series. That series is going to be, those videos are going to be longer for sure, like 3 hours plus almost every time, probably. Because as you saw, we didn't get through much because it's not like we're dealing with another party like Bart Ehrman. We're just dealing with Sam and his insanity and his channel member, but that's supplying the insanity directly, right? Not a third party. And so, and we're stopping it and we're catching Sam in some of the most unbelievable, right? I mean, that's what that's part one that I'm talking about, that series. Yeah, we're going to go right from where we left off and just keep going. Now, some of that overlaps with this, as you're going to see, because again, they're kind of related. So that's fine, but just know that if I don't like, I'm only going to deal with what we actually read tonight, or what we hear from Sam and read what he's showing us, or what we look up. So I'm not going to like go into extended refutation unless maybe it's just too good right now. Just want to, but otherwise I want to be a little more efficient. Again, get through this tonight or tomorrow. This whole video we've been doing, we're about a little 2.5 hours. It's a little over 4. So either way, we'll see. The other one's going to take longer. There might be 10 parts to that, right? But they'll be legendary, okay? And the clips, we'll label it better too. I'll make sure we label these even better. So let's just get through them, and then we'll keep going. We'll have some more efficiency. We'll pound Sam into the ground for his blasphemy, right? His lies, attacks, slander, bullying, misrepresenting Christianity to people like Bart Ehrman, who will think we're more crazy than we are if we don't do something about Sam and say, wait a minute, he's gone, right? That guy that you've heard about that's totally insane, Bart. But you know, he's out there and notable, and that right has no discipline. So he will attack you no matter what. Okay, most of that dialogue I put in the thumbnail, that's pretty realistic, right? Don't you think, everybody? I probably was a little more. Oh no, it could have got a lot worse. So I'm trying to be a little funny though and be real. All right, so let's say hi to everybody, and then we'll get right to it. Good to see you all. That's kind of the program, though. We're going to finish off this video with him and Bart Ehrman. He did another video, though. So after we're done with this first video that we're annihilating and exposing Sam and his blasphemy, his bad arguments and failures, we'll do many clips, of course. Once we're done with this video and we do at least more parts to the other video, where we're finding a gold mine of visual documentation, possession. We will then do, Sam did another video on Bart Ehrman. We're going to go through that video as well. If he does another one, we will do that. So there's never going to be an end. There will only be an end to Sam. That's it. Okay. And then the end when the son hands over the kingdom back to the father, right? Which he always forgets. He's actually totally forgotten. He forgets a lot, right? We saw he forgot the angel, right? From the account in Exodus 3. And then he forgot the word appears too, with Bart Ehrman when he was, everything. So we know we're dealing with someone who is not, this shouldn't be happening, but it is. And you cannot stop it, okay? You can, no matter what you do or try to do, the only way is to expose him. If we can humiliate him properly, right? Like if you notice, and we're going to start just a second. If you notice, I don't call Sam things that are not true. Yeah, sometimes a little exaggeration, but it's related to a core truth. And it's not like far off that truth, right? And so Sam makes stuff up. He's said I'm on drugs and attacked my mother. So just blatant slanderous lies that I could go after him for, but we're both public figures in some way, And I don't really care. I think he's such a catastrophe. If you fall for Sam, in my view, I think it's just. I'm not going to take you very seriously. That's a fact. Okay. Yes. I mean, I still may have to deal with you and you're a person, but come on. What is happening here? Why is this? What is it? What could it be? Huh? Is it Sam again? Is he able to just do it again? Right? Is Sam's ability to just lie and pretend like he agrees with you and say nice things enough? It is, huh? He's just, and it does work on a lot of people. I'm just surprised it's still working in this arena, right? He's not like an unknown. He's not like in a new area where he's pulling the stuff all over on new people, right? It's the same people, right? That's why I say the trauma bond's got to be involved. A trauma bond can explain a lot of this. You understand? I'm not kidding. Yeah, it does. A lot of what I say sounds funny, but I'm not really kidding. Okay? I'm trying to be a little humorous with it, but it is actually true, most of what I'm telling you. So with Sam, I don't know. You're going to be seeing a lot more. If you don't like me talking about Sam, well, you're going to be hearing a lot more of him no matter what, at least for a while. Now, if you stand with me and you help me and you actually endure, if you think I like this, like Jude, remember we started out with Jude, whether it was this part one or the other part one, it's something we talk about a lot where he says, hey, I would like to talk to you about other stuff, and that other stuff for Jude being God, Jesus, salvation, right? The love we have in common, the things they do together when they're not being interrupted by people like Sam. That's what he says. People would come in and interrupt their love feast right in among them, and they didn't even realize it till later. And they were apostles, had Holy Spirit. So we got to prepare. This is not something we can always avoid. It happens. Look at the way Sam can go in and out of all these groups. What do you mean it can't? It's happening right in front of us. And he's just Sam. Now, that's not just, there's a legion there, but either way, and he has people, right? So there's more going on. But the fact that this still happens, right? That's something is more important than I realize, because I can't think of anything that would be more important than not associating with such a person, right? I don't know. Even if no matter what, I don't see it. Do you not see him abusing his kids live? Why? Are you do you have kids? Right? Do you care about kids? Either way, let's move on to the real stuff. We'll talk about this more in part 2 of the other related series. But I'm saying this for a reason, okay? This is about Sam in large part, and Bart Ehrman, but we're going to get to that right now. Sam is being re-embraced by a lot of people who are going to be using him in some ways no matter what. And so I don't think it's going to go. I know it's not. It's not really a question. It's just a curiosity to me as to what is the motivation. It would have to be pretty significant to, I look at things in a calculated risk manner, and you can't always predict everything. But again, some things just make more sense, right? And yes, I don't really know all the underlying relationships to it, but there's a lot of overlying relationships that are pretty wild. I mean, if there's the fractioning within groups like that and all this stuff, right? What is blasphemy, right? What matters? Just saying you're sorry, and whether you mean it or not. So you do you not know that he'll throw himself down and humiliate himself just to turn around and rip you open? Like he always does. There's no difference in the pattern. You think you're going to be an exception, huh? I know. So did William. So does everybody. All right, let's go to Bart Ehrman because he's smart, right? Did you guys read the dialogue on the thumbnails 1 through 3? See? we're going to follow his example in how we deal with Sam. Me too, right? I do that too. We don't want to get close to Sam. Now, he'll try to get close to you with many names. He's crazy, and he has minions. And you don't understand. I don't think many do. I really don't. Even if you've known him a while, you'd watch him like, yeah. No. Hey, remember, this is a different situation. Look at what he's capable of doing. Look at what he's capable of generating. Yes, he's a joke in many ways and a catastrophe in pretty much every way. As a father, as a man. I mean, he's not these things, right? So let's just knock it off. We saw what kind of father he is. He literally shows us in his lives. It's not something we have to guess about or misinterpret from his history. It's right now, live, okay? So there's no excuse. You accept all that. You're literally ratifying that behavior when you accept and embrace Sam. So that's a bad thing for you. Anyone who does it. Either way, good luck to you in that way that I don't really mean, but that sounds good because sometimes we say stuff like that. I don't know. I don't think it's going to work out. No. It'll work out for us, if anything, people who know that Sam's crazy. And it might just take a lot of these other pagans down. I believe that will happen. But again, I don't know everything. I don't claim to. Although the Bible says I do, at least if I'm a Christian, right? That's not really what it means. But if you believe like Sam, you think Eve's the mother of everything. Even Eve, Adam, all of it. Okay? Just know that. He has something to do with Mary. We're going to be talking about her a lot more too. Because of Sam, by the way. Sam will be responsible for all of the Mary stuff, Ortho or Catholic. I'm going to try to be a little, we're going to see what happens with the Catholics here. If the Catholics if they kick Sam out, then we'll leave them, right? Then we give them the thumbs up. Then we give them credit, right? We have to back off and say, okay, you did something good right there, We told you a long time ago you could have avoided us, but hey, fine. It's the same thing with everybody else. Look at Jude, right? It happened to everybody. And then that's so interesting, huh? Anyway, let's bring up Bart Ehrman and Sam. Thank you all for joining me. So we're gonna spend, probably 1.5 to 2.5 hours. We did a little over 2.5, I think, the other day. That's fine. Under 3, though, for sure. I don't want these to be long. These are meant, because even though we talk a little bit here in the opening, it is about Sam, though, right? And there's a lot going on with Sam. So I'm not just doing this to waste time. No, there are real things happening with Sam. And I'm not going to get into all of them. And so it is relevant. And if you don't want to think about it, well, I don't know what to tell you, right? Yes, no, you need to understand that wherever Sam is, that's where the dragon is, okay? Almost 100%. And for me, it is. So there's no way the Holy Spirit's going to tolerate his presence for 2 seconds. So in any case, that's one reason. That's enough of a reason to be aware of Sam, right? Wherever he is, the biggest problems are going to be. So with that being said, let's bring up his video from the other day. That we have been annihilating like we should, as is our deal. Oh, here he goes. Yeah, so as we know, Sam is a pervert. Right? He's perverted. Let's bring him up over here. Let's go to his channel so you can see. Now, he has a mental problem. What happens is Sam realizes if you want to go over to Sam, good luck to you, right? You will not learn anywhere near what you're going to learn right here. And we're going to be playing Sam. So if you really want to deal with his insanity, this right here is him doing this to divert from me. He's a maniac, right? He's a pervert. Now, he went after my mother and everybody, and so he has to be punished. But he's a mental case, everybody. He's insane. He, instead of listening to this video and taking notes and saying, okay, Greg, you were wrong here. I'm going to get you here. I'm going to get you there. He does this here. Let's go and let's do it. We're going to do a stealth invasion. It's time. Go.
And I'm forcing you because I'll snap at you. So then I'm wondering, if I'm that mean, why do you come see me? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. There you go.
He's abusing his daughter's life. Listen.
Liars.
Say it again.
Liars.
Oh, stick that in your pipe. You wish your
He just talked about smoking in a pipe in front of his daughters.
son was walking with the Lord like my daughters thank Jesus. There you go.
He's literally doing a live with people and talking to them, and then they go to another room and watch Marvel movies because he doesn't want to spend time with them.
Okay. You hear that? Now, he just admitted Avery is a liar, a deceiver, a tool of Satan.
He's still attacking God logic, like his main protege, who did everything you can imagine to bend over backwards to not offend this guy. And he still turns on him and calls him a son of Satan and a snake. This is what I've been telling you.
Watch. Listen.
And he said, I agree.
Okay, well, we'll let him do his thing, which is good to go insane, right? So just know he's doing this to divert from me, which is not unusual. It's one of his tactics. He's a pervert. Again, we in some sense do get some joy. Like Sam's he's funny in some ways, but he's also a blasphemous maniac, okay? And he's also, like I said, really well known. He's been around a long time, so people listen to him. That's why we got to deal with this Bart Ehrman stuff. He's actually been completely, basically, pardoned by the Ortho Bros, from Jay Dyer all the way down, and whoever's above him, because it wouldn't be happening otherwise, right? I saw the craziest stuff earlier. And so I really, first thing I thought of was, this guy's going to try to make his prophecy come true. He apologized for it, but you guys don't understand. I do, okay? You guys better keep Sam away from Jay Dyer. You know, if you want to, I'm telling you. And there's no, if you do anything direct, he's going to leech on, he's going to latch, And then when you try to pull back because you think you've done, he's going to take it the wrong way and then go, it's over again. So I can already see this happening. And it's somewhat sad. And the God logic thing is, of course, I talked about it yesterday. Let's get to the video that we're destroying. We'll destroy all this stuff later. You know, he's crazy. We'll stay with probably most of his, like, hopefully good stuff. I don't think he has much. Let's go to his channel. Sam's crazy. He's kind of funny and nuts. We tried to actually make the most of Sam several times. I tried. I ask anybody who's been here a long time. I literally stopped talking about him for a full year while he continued to defame and slander me, lie about offers to debate that I exposed him on. I took down videos that were reviews of his demonic possession. Took them down because I felt bad for him, because he was like he's doing right now with Jay Dyer and everyone else. Okay? He starts to show these signs to get you to be what you are, right? You're trying to be a Christian. He knows this. He's not, though, but he knows you and I and most other people who try to be. That's an exploitable vulnerability if you don't understand who you're dealing with. And if you don't understand who you're dealing with, let me remind you. Okay, let's go to at least something that's more, like I said, sorry, his attacks, right? He's very Sam has, like I said, he has problems. He was abandoned. He knows this. He hates me for it. And I didn't even abandon him. I just think his dad is a legend for doing it. But I didn't actually abandon you, Sam. Oh, by the way, let's do a quick Quora count. Yeah, I did like a little one the other day. But then I started going back through and I realized, it's a lot bigger problem, isn't it? Where does it start here? Let's just do a quick count and we'll get to the article, the whole thing. We're not in a rush. There's a lot of stuff. Sam is blowing up, but about to blow up like a beached whale. So, yeah. So we can see over here on the right where he's flying like he has a thin body like me that they mock all the time but really want. So that, you see that the title, comedy, Korah the Tammy. And then right next to that, to the left, Korah's Jihad. And he likes his little cartoon. There he is. That's shocking detail. And then the one to the left, right? All three of these. Korah Tammy. Above that, from the right, Korah the Tammy. Okay, nothing about Korah in that video, but he does have Sarah and sparing virgins only. And Lot commits incest. It's part of the extended title. So it's still sexual. No Korah, though. Okay, fine. To the left of that, no Korah. Okay. Up to here, he attacks Thaddeus and attacks his family like a pervert. Then goes back to Korah. And then next to this, no Korah. Then he goes back to Korah again. And then it says intense love for all peoples and women. Jesus meets a Samaritan woman. So he's still thinking sexually. Korah again. Korah again. Korah again. Korah again. Again. This guy. Again. Again. Right? Now, again. This guy is out of his mind. Another time. Another time. Another time. How many is that? We're going to count real quick and then start. Another. We're going to refute this video right here where he's flying but totally lying because of his associate. See, there's serious more on him. And Korah. Okay, so now he's obsessed with me because sometimes he manifests in a form where his attraction changes. So let's just do a quick count. All right. Just strict Korah. No like other related sexual innuendo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, okay, I don't know if he was like focused on her down here. 18. He's also obsessed with Jake, the meta-Muslim physician. He has another. Here's 19. Haha. Prove me wrong, Korah the Tammy versus the Quran. 19. 20. 21. 22. And then he got re-fascinated with me in the other way. 23. 24. I'm talking strict chorus. This is insane, man. And we're still within 2 months. 24. Guys literally almost got one a day if you just were in 1 month, and we're only within 2. So this right here should tell you all you need to know if you are back. So he has a cycle of self-abuse, right? And it's not like normal. So he brings it up and I just like deal with it. But as you just saw, he had 24, 25, right? 24 in how many? Out of how many? Let's see. Where was the first Korah? 24 out of how many videos? Just to get a real ratio, right? And then we're done. This is crazy. This is beyond this is the person they're initiating, and he's more gone than ever, right? It's like the highest risk situation. Where did he first start? We'll start with the first Korah, and then we'll count from there. Because there were 24. This guy. Right here. Okay, so from this middle one right here, where he's looks like with one hand he's got up, and he's like making a back and forth motion. You see that? That's usually a masturbating motion. And it doesn't look like anything else is happening. He's literally gyrating back and forth. You see that? That's perverted. He does that too. Sometimes like he'll block himself, and people like they can hear this kind of breathing, and he's not eating. We're like, wait, he has problems. People think I'm lying, but no. If he eats, he has to go to the bathroom. Not for the bathroom though, like for the toilet. Not right after he eats. Right after he eats, he needs the bathroom so he can turn the water on and lie to everybody. While he thinks of Korah, right? Right here's where he started. And this is where he's doing that gyration. Look at that. He's literally going back and forth, gyrating. So this is where it all started. First, he got with me here. He started eating. He's very heavy. Then right after the eating, he started doing the gyrating. See that? Look at the gyrating. And one hand is missing, right? Right there is almost proof. He wasn't showing it, but it's just, what else is he doing? Okay, so he's talking about Korah. So he was doing that gyration, one hand missing, and he's thinking of Korah. Okay, so there's 24. How many videos out of 24? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. Okay. So he's like around 40%, right? He's over 40. We can bring up a calculator. Let's just do that, right? So he had 24, right? So 53 divided by 24. No, the other way. I always forget. So 24 divided by 53. 45%, right? Almost half of his videos over the last 2 months. Or we counted how many videos? 53, yeah, almost 2 months. 45% of this guy's videos feature this woman he's obsessed with. And it's not the woman he allegedly has a relationship with. And his main problem outside of eating is masturbating. This is not funny. It's not meant to be funny. The core calculation is kind of funny, but it leads to this, right? Which is serious. He's got a major problem. And I just showed it to you, right? I just showed you he's an obsessive compulsive pervert. Okay, so he's doing a live because he hates me and he wants everyone to go away from me and watch him so that he has more numbers and people don't learn what they should learn. So if you want to watch Sam and not learn something, go ahead and join him. He's perverted. Now we're going to learn something and still watch Sam because it's about him and he's perverted. So we'll bring that video up. Yes, a little extended, but again, this is all really about Sam and his attack on Bart Ehrman and the truth and his general antics. So we talk about him. If you don't really want to hear the whole stuff, then you can always just watch the direct annihilation of his arguments and stuff later. But, Sam is catastrophic overall. And so he's like a baby. Let's bring you guys up and go to the video. We're going to annihilate some more. So we just saw he has major masturbation issues. He's obsessed with this woman. This is it right here. David Wood wants my channel deleted. This is what we're annihilating.
Wow.
Literally right where we left off. We're going to start right now. Okay, so prepare your ears because you're about to hear a screeching cow. And we have had to endure this. It's not predictable. It's not something you can adjust volume to and make better because he does indiscriminate screeching out of tone, and it's not like you can't even figure it out. So do your best. I'll try my best. And let's just see if he has anything worth offering. If not, we'll expose that as well. He's allegedly quoting Bart Ehrman here. You can see the references. We're accepting those on their face, although we have reason to be suspicious. But we're just dealing with it as he presents it and lies about it.
And so the interpretation of the Philippians poem that takes it as an indication that Christ was a kind of perfect Adam does not work on one hand because the passage has features that don't make sense given this interpretation.
It literally calls him the last Adam. So what are you talking about, right? This guy's insane. Again, he's been quoting Bart Ehrman as an authority recently here in this video, but he initially started out by absolutely assassinating him. Okay? So we don't have the full context of what Bart Ehrman may mean by these statements here, but the way he's emphasizing it is so wild, and it just doesn't agree with what's actually stated in the text like we read last week. It literally calls Jesus the last Adam, and then explains that his resurrection comes out of heaven. He says, because it says the second man is out of heaven, that means he's a man being resurrected out of heaven. Oh, well, that's exactly what he's not saying and contradicting, because he's contrasting it with the first man that is physical. Right. And then, Sam, which you didn't highlight, he calls Jesus the last Adam after referring to the first Adam. That's the second man, Sam. Don't you understand that? Right. So when he calls him the last Adam, he's the perfect man who died. So his resurrection is from where? From heaven, since his spirit went back to God. And Paul's been spending the entire chapter of 1 Corinthians 15 explaining to you and everybody that when you die, the seed becomes a bare grain and God gives it a body. It could be this type, this type, this type, depending on what type of body or creature it is. So then he starts to talk about, he's talking about the resurrection. What kind of body are they coming with? And then he starts saying, well, you start out with a physical body, sown in the earth, sown from the earth, Adam. But you're raised a spiritual body. So right there, it contradicts you that the resurrection is not out of the earth. So there is not this whole, it's all figurative in the sense in which you guys think the bodies rise up like that. No. God gives it a body, just like Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15. It can be any type. Psalms and elsewhere, even Jesus himself says the spirit returns back to the God who gave it. That's the bare grain Paul's talking about, that when it dies, it needs a body. Otherwise, it's with God. Like every body who has died, but yet you keep praying to them as if they're alive to you. No. Otherwise, they'd already have their body, and we would already be at the point where it doesn't appear we are, according to Revelation 6 or 1 Thessalonians 4. So you can think whatever you want, but the fact is, Paul makes it very clear in 1 Corinthians 15, there's a physical body that Adam had when he was made, that was sown, right? And then when Jesus, the last Adam, the second man, in the historical sense in which he's referring to him as a man, perfect man, last Adam man, just like 1 Timothy 2:5, just like Galatians 1 through 12. We reviewed them all last video, showed he's wrong in not understanding that Jesus doesn't have a physical body in heaven, but that the references to him as a man are often done in a historical sense of him as a man who literally did the things as a man in the past in the context in which those statements are said. Like 1 Timothy 2:5. It literally says there's a mediator between the one God and us, a man, Jesus Christ, who gave himself, right? It's talking about him in the past as the man who gave himself, not as the man who gave himself, who's in heaven as a man, who what? Gave himself but still a man? Just died? Well, then you'd have to explain Hebrews 10 and the sacrifice, because he died and flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of the heavens. And that's not talking about sin. That's a lie. I've already exposed it. So if you say that and you don't respond to me, you're chicken. And all of you are, because you haven't. Because there's no way to. I've already explained and cited for you in my writings, all those references do not mean they're sinful. They mean they're humans. That's all those mean. Oh, and guess what? Yeah, humans are sinful. But that's not what flesh and blood means. It just means we have become sinful. It means not how we were created. So no, flesh and blood are not inherently sinful. They became that way. And none of those references are implying anything else. You'd have to prove that, and you haven't, so let's see you if you want to. Either way, he keeps lying to everybody because he's too stupid and afraid to actually teach the truth, which Paul does in Galatians 1. The revelation he got from Jesus from heaven was not from a man. He couldn't have been more explicit. He said it several ways. Men, humans, a man, but by Jesus Christ, right? Because he knows he's talking about him in the actual sense in which he lives in heaven, but still historically the same Jesus Christ. We're going to be getting into this a lot with Sam, because he's really, really stupid when it comes to Jesus living before, during, and after being a man, if you believe like me and him. We understand a lot of people don't, maybe Bart Ehrman and others. But for Sam, he doesn't have a concept of how Jesus could live as a person like the Archangel Michael or any angel, and then become a man. He doesn't understand that. Even though he himself believes that Jesus is a pre-existent eternal spirit, person of God, who took on a human nature, which is exactly what we believe. The only difference is we believe, like Paul teaches and elsewhere the Bible teaches, to take on that other nature, he had to give up the one he had, because you can't be two different types of beings, especially when they're antithetical to each other, right? Existentially. No. So it's all just a lie. There is no kenosis in the way you guys think of it. Kenotic theory is just you're lying. We're going to get into it either here and the other video series, and I've done it before. Kanao means it's gone. What's it talking about? The morphe theou. So whatever that means, that's gone and being replaced by the morphe doulou. Therefore, he doesn't have the other form. He's taking on this one and he emptied. There'd be no reason to use kanao if he's just taking on another form and retaining the old one. Kanao never means to limit. That's your lie. This is your guy's big lie in the kenosis. You're literally, once again, like with God, lying about what that verb means. And you talk about it as if it's a theory in a nominal sense, in a way that only makes sense to you because of your false beliefs. No, it means to empty, like it's gone. There's nothing left. Like Sam's brain, right? Maybe a remnant, a fragment, so it's close, but you get the idea. Either way, there's nothing there. No one has shown that means limited. And how long have I been saying this and you guys not showing that? So what's going to give first? You stop lying about it, or you actually show what you're saying is true? I'm going to guess you'll just keep lying about it, right? I'll give you a third option so you don't accuse me either or, even though the third option is the worst. Nonetheless, it's probably the one that's going to happen, because this guy can't pass the test and he keeps saying the same things over and over, even though he's failed.
Meaning, he's not merely a man like Adam was.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what he says. He calls him the last Adam, Sam. Did we have to bring that up? Let me go ahead and we'll bring up 1 Corinthians, because Sam is going to be unusually just lying tonight, right? Sam often just goes into full lie mode where he literally makes stuff up, and it's so bizarre because I've seen this many times. He'll literally say things that are the exact opposite of what the text says. Like I gave the example the other day of how he says in John 5 that, seeing what the Father does only does what he sees the Father doing. They just lie and say that they're all doing that at the same time. Whatever they're doing together, it's just them all doing it at the same time. It doesn't explain anything like the begetting, the being given of life, right? So he's giving himself life, even though it doesn't say that. It says the Father gave him life. So again, they literally will contradict the text. They don't care. They do not care. If you don't see that now, I can't help you, right? I know it's weird, but that's what's happening. Look at the first century. Look at Sam. It should start to make sense to you. Look at their clothes. Look at the way they talk. Look at the way they act. Is pretty clear parallels with the same people in the New Testament. Either way, statues, icons, all of it, right? Okay, you understand now? Okay. He doesn't understand any of it, right? So when we go to 1 Corinthians, this guy's crazy. You heard what he just said, right? What did he just say? He just said that, well, he's reading Bart Ehrman, right? So again, he's trying to take from Bart Ehrman things that he believes he'll use, even though he totally disparaged him as an authority before. So if you ever try to cite Bart Ehrman, he'll use the disparaging stuff. If he wants to cite Bart Ehrman, won't even mention it. He'll just hammer it and make you figure it out, right? He's a bad person. He needs to be stopped and shut down. He's a liar, he's a pervert, and he's an abuser. But he defames God and the Bible for his own selfishness. He's a little man, right? And he's not going to stop taking out his anger on his little man syndrome and his abandonment by his father and his mother holding him accountable as her little cow. He's not going to stop that. He has to be stopped somehow or deplatformed. But as you're seeing right now, he has a unique ability to just draw people into a bloated cow. How? Well, look beyond the physical. It might make more sense.
Paul believes he's more than a man. On the other hand,
Okay, no, he doesn't say that. He calls him last Adam and literally says he gave up the Marphe Theou, which we're going to talk about more in this video and the other one, and took on the Marphe Doulou. So the form of a slave. So everything you're saying is just simply contradicted in lies. You're literally lying and defaming Paul right here by saying things he literally says are true that are not true. You say he's not the perfect last Adam. 1 Corinthians 15 says he is. We literally showed it last week. Let's read it again, right? Real quickly, everybody, look. We've talked about this so many times. But this guy's gone on all levels, right? And we'll go to the Greek this time once he brings it up even more. But this is so clear, right? He just doesn't understand the sequence of the subject, right? He doesn't understand how it's talking about the resurrection. He starts saying that when it's talking about the second man out of heaven, that's the resurrection with him as a man. When that's not what it's talking about. It's talking to him as this second man. So in other words, the first Adam became a living person, right, when he was created. The last Adam, Jesus, became a life-giving spirit when he was resurrected. That's the sequence of everything he's been talking about. Sown a physical body, raised a spiritual body. He's literally giving everybody an example that Sam can't even see because of how blind he is, right? That's how stupid he is. So he says the second man, Sam, when the second man, second Adam, last Adam became this at his resurrection, that's out of heaven. It's not saying a man is coming out of heaven, Sam. Otherwise, the last Adam would be coming out of heaven because that's the reference. You understand? As the earthly one is, so those are earthly. That's physical, like Adam, Sam. It's directly in contrast with the heavenly one and those who are heavenly. That's the one out of heaven, right? This is what we have to deal with, everybody. I mean, and I know it's like, why? Well, you tell me. You tell me why people are re-platforming him right now. Forget all this other stuff that's on its own horrifically enough in so many ways. You answer to me right now. You give me, what's the answer? Yeah, I'm sure that one, do you know it? Can you explain any rational basis upon which you, as a like seemingly reputable religious group, would openly embrace and platform Sam and make everything a-okay, as if it's going to stay that way? You tell me. I'd like to know an answer to that. Is the answer because this time it's going to work? Really? Is that your? I would like to know. Is there an ortho bro who would like to put down because this time it's going to work? I'm going to say none of you will do that. Maybe just because you want to prove me wrong here, right? You really believe that? This time it's going to work? Hopefully you're only looking at this as a temporary thing of some kind and just lying to him in some way. That makes sense, right? He's stupid enough to go with that. Just butter him up a little bit. You can make him do almost anything, okay? Remember, Sam's very good at moving people around like we've been talking about. He's also one of the easiest people to manipulate and move around. Now, I don't try to manipulate him. I just steamroll him and blow him out. That's harder to do, but I like it, and it works. So, nevertheless, outside of that, he's either manipulating you or you have to manipulate him, because it's not going to just be a neutral encounter, right? He might eat you. Either way, let's go back to him and his insatiableness for lying and food, masturbation.
And this interpretation is completely unnecessary. It does not solve the problem of an incarnational Christology. That's a term Ehrman uses for the view of Jesus' followers, that this divine being became flesh. Incarnate means in flesh, became the man Jesus. Because Paul clearly says in other passages that Jesus was indeed a pre-existent divine being who came into the world. That's what this poem teaches as well. Pages 261, 262. Now, guys, you want to see how he buried himself? Do you guys want to see how he buried himself here? According to Ehrman, Paul believed the rock of Exodus and Numbers, the rock that provided supernatural water, manna, quail for the Israelites at the time of Moses, the rock that accompanied them, delivered them, punished them, was Christ, right?
We talked a little bit about this last show. This is new, though. He's just going back to it, okay? So this isn't redo.
It's right here. Okay. Now watch why this is a humiliation. Watch. I've done millions of sessions on this. We're not going to go through it for too long. I mean, because, we've already done it. Just real quick. Okay. For I do not want you to be unaware, brothers. Let's start at 1 here. I do not want you to be unaware, brothers, that our fathers were all under the cloud, all passed through the sea. So notice the cloud. And all were baptized into Moses in the cloud and the sea. And all ate the same spiritual food, and all drank the same spiritual drink, for they're drinking from a spiritual rock, which followed, and the rock was Christ. So Christ is a spiritual rock, not a physical one. He is the one in the cloud.
Right. Just like he has a spiritual body, not a physical one, right? It's literally the same description, and you're literally using it to argue he's not physical. So once again, you've contradicted yourself. You're reinforcing our understanding of Paul by using his own same letter of 1 Corinthians and showing how he uses spiritual to denote something not physical, which is the same with the spiritual food in verse 3. So thank you for reinforcing our belief and spiritual drink. Spiritual food, spiritual drink, spiritual rock. They're all not physical, Sam. Just like the spiritual body in chapter 15 that you lie about. So right here, you have been exposed.
Guiding Moses and Israel, he is the one who gave them food and drink. But according to Deuteronomy,
See how fast he skipped by that? Because he probably started to realize he was contradicting himself. He doesn't care ultimately, though. But sometimes he realizes he's lying like really blatantly, and you can tell, especially when he like runs past stuff, right? Like the other day with Exodus 3 and the angel, or appears to, and right now.
you know who that rock is? Deuteronomy 32, 1-4. Let's start at 3. For I proclaim the name of Yahweh, Yahweh, ascribe greatness to our God, the rock who is perfect. For all his ways are just, a God of faithfulness without injustice, righteous, upright is he. Okay, how in the world can Ehrman tell you Paul doesn't believe Jesus is Yahweh when the rock of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, that followed them, fed them, gave them to drink, punished them, rebuked them, sustained them, is Yahweh?
It's real simple. You're just stupid and don't understand what you're reading. So right here, it calls him the rock, referring to his work being perfect and all his ways being just. A God of faithfulness without injustice, righteous and upright is he. So how is it you don't understand that since the angel that follows them is directly told what to say by Yahweh, how do you not understand that the angel is entirely reliant on Yahweh, whose name he has? It's not the angel's name, it's Yahweh's name, and who is only speaking Yahweh's words. It's the angel we're hearing, Moses is hearing, that they're all hearing, but it's Yahweh's words. That's explicitly what we were told in Exodus 23, like you agree. So again, what is it you're not understanding that the angel that's actually with them, that's like following them in the pillar of cloud and fire, what is it you don't understand in 1 Corinthians 10 about that being the rock that followed them, when that rock that's following them is literally directly representing, verbally and otherwise, the rock himself? And in this text, it's not talking about him following them, Sam. So why you wouldn't see, it's just like God being light and Jesus being light and us being light. Why you would think there's not a shared attribution in some way that wouldn't make those who share the attribute identical. You even yourself ultimately argue for that, but you just pervert it. Right here, it's talking about his work and his ways and his justice. All of that is expressed through the angel. So it would absolutely be the case that both are true. The angel as God's visible and vocal representation is the rock that's following them. The rock that's actually not following them is this rock right here. Right, because this rock right here is, as you just said, Yahweh, the name of Yahweh, our God. We also know from Exodus 23, we reviewed this in part 1 and 2, that the angel has God's name, which is right here, as you said. So once again, we know that Jesus as that angel is the rock that followed them, only in the sense that he has God's name, not his own, and he only speaks what God tells him as the visible and audible manifestation of his work, his ways, and his justice. This description here does not say this rock followed them. You're a liar and a pig.
So if Ehrman just told you Paul said Christ is that rock, but we're told that rock is Yahweh.
No, Paul didn't say that. Paul said the rock that followed them. Are you retarded? I mean, are you literally now at a point where you need to be like put in a special location, right? For just, you're not capable of just maintaining a thought from what you just read, right? You literally just read 1 Corinthians 10 and you can't even reference it properly and make a proper connection because there isn't one. You literally are leaving out the key description, which shows the rock here you're reading about isn't the same rock that followed them. That's the only thing you've made clear and then just lied about it, right? Like usual.
How in the world does he say that Jesus is not Yahweh?
There's no real way to have you understand, but we just explained it. So if you want to try, listen to it 1,000,000 times. Maybe on the 1,000,001th it will sink in.
Even though he's not the Father. Do you thus repay Yahweh?
Right. He's the rock that followed them. And Yahweh the Father, he's the rock that followed them. He has that Father's, Yahweh's name, not his own name. Otherwise it would be his name. And that rock that followed them only says what the rock whose ways and are true and whose justice is pure and who's not corrupt, like we just read. Only that rock tells the rock that followed them what to say and do. So effectively, Sam, yeah, it's like the same rock, just two beings. You have one created angel, the firstborn, like we're told, very obvious, no question about it. And then you have the Father, who created the firstborn, who literally birthed him into existence out of himself, just like the Bible describes and like all the terms that fit him indicate. Beginning of his generative power, Sam, just like the term firstborn is defined 4 times in the Bible, consistent with its usage, even metaphorically, in terms of temporality. So, we've gone over all this before. It's really not new. It's just it's really a lower level for you. But, it's fun and we have the time and it documents your descent into deeper patheticness right at the time when other pagans are taking a huge gamble on you.
Yahweh, O people are wickedly foolish and without wisdom. Is not he your Father who has bought you?
Oh, so is Jesus the Father? So this rock is the Father. So you don't even believe this is the same rock, right? What a complete liar you are. You yourself make a distinction between this rock and the rock that followed them. Yet you're acting like they're the same rock. No, Sam. See, rock's not an uncommon description, and one is the son of the other. So, like, if you're the son of a rock, you're probably a rock. It's figurative, just so you're not totally baffled, right? But you wouldn't, like, have a bird from a rock, would you, Sam? No, it would probably be the same thing. And that's how he's depicted and presented even as one of the sons of God, angels. Yeah, so having them be the same type of material, though separate from the one who's actually commanding that angel, and he's described with a different function and we following them, not one who's simply ordering that angel with his name. It's so easy for everybody to figure out, but there is a deficiency there, and just realize you're contradicting yourself, okay?
Well, does that mean he's got the Father? No.
Okay, yes, it would to you, but let's see how you lie about it. Because it says Father right here, Sam. So this is not the Father, and how would you prove that?
In the Bible, the term Father is applied to God in the sense of him creating, sustaining, preserving, and saving.
Okay, here's where I'm going to blow your brain apart. You understand? What does it say this Father does, Sam? Take a look at that. Is he not your father who bought you? And this ties in directly with your failure to properly inform Dr. White during our debate because you're stupid, but you run headlong into all this stuff. You know, I would love to just get you and annihilate you. Watch you walk right into this kind of stuff. You're so stupid, right? It literally says, is he not your father who bought you? So he owns these people, right? These are his people. Just like Jesus tells us. Let's go there now, right? Let's expose Sam. All right, this legendary level of failure, right, that the ortho-pagans are inheriting now. What a catastrophe. What an absolute catastrophe. Right? Guy's gone. Let's take a look at a couple accounts in John just to show how stupid he is, right? Let's go to John 10. We'll get back to you, Sam, but a catastrophe on all levels. Right here, as I showed in that video where the hands are touching, exposes Sam on John 10. He has no answer, nothing to say. He's blown out. Right here, right? Jesus says, okay, we'll start right here. Verse 14, I'm the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. They will become one flock with one shepherd. For this reason, the Father loves me, because I laid down my life so that I may take it back. No one has taken it from me, but I lay it down of my own. I have authority to lay it down, and I have authority to take it back. This disproves all of their view about this whole collective action, by the way. But either way, we already know that. The commandment I received from my Father. We know that too. Sam lies about everything. Verse 19. Dissension occurred again among the Jews because of these words. Many of them were saying, he has a demon. He's like Sam. He's insane. Why do you listen to him? And the others were saying, no, he's not like Sam. We threw him out before, who's demon possessed. A demon can't open the eyes of people who are blind, can it? Sam blinds people. This guy's opening people's eyes. Verse 22. At that time, the feast of dedication took place in Jerusalem. It was winter, and Jesus was walking in the temple, in the portico of Solomon. The Jews then surrounded him and began to say to him, how long will you keep us in suspense? If you're the Christ, tell us plainly. Jesus said to them, I told you, and you do not believe. Just like Sam, right? You could tell him 1,000,000 times. That's why the stupid ones have to get beatings. They need strokes. The only way. That's what they're made for. The works I do in my Father's name. Oh, so it's like not his name, but it's his Father's name. And just like the angel in Exodus 23, he had God's name, not his name. Yeah. Interesting how that is the case. Verse 26, but you do not believe because you are not my sheep. Sam, my sheep listen to my voice, and I know them, and they follow me, and I give them eternal life. And they will never perish, and no one will snatch them out of my hand. My Father who has given them to me is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of the Father's hand. I and the Father are one. And then he goes on, of course, in John 17, which we're going to go to next, to explain how they're one. And this right here, my Father has given them to me. He's greater than all. That includes him, right, Sam? Because all means all, except when you want it to. Even though he even says the Father's greater than me, too. Right? It's incredible. Or is this just all humans, Sam? Is he just talking about being greater than all humans? Yeah, right, because that's just all you want it to mean. Either way, Sam, it's pretty obvious he's greater than a human, or his Father's greater than a human in John 14:28, wouldn't you say? So, nice revelation right there. No, the other one's what really has meaning. And right here, Father gave those who are his to him, Sam. So, if we just go back and compare Jesus' words with a cow, right? Look at verse 6. Try not to look at his face with him being ready to receive Bo Branson. And look at verse 6. See where it says, is he not your father who has bought you? You know how you go to the store, Sam, and you buy like 50 chocolate-filled donuts, right? You cut them open and suck the chocolate out of the inside and then eat the rest of it. Well, right here, it says, the Father bought them. Yeah, it has nothing to do with your other attempt to explain it away like Jesus is the Father in the Creator sense. No, the text actually requires that this is the actual Father, the one God, because like we've also been showing you, but you don't listen because of the, mental problem and blubber. Yeah, the Father had to give them to Jesus. He's talking about the disciples and the people who are sheep. So, see, Sam, Jesus as the Father in the sense you're trying to lie about, he didn't have them back in the text you're reading. Right. And if you weren't so stupid, you could have figured that out real easily just by like reading the rest of the verse you're lying about. I know you read it and just ignored it, but you could have not ignored it and not lied about it. But then you wouldn't be able to lie about your doctrine and your fake God, right? Mislead a bunch of people. So that's why we got to do what we got to do, everybody. He's a despicable person. And most people are so stupid, they actually think he's telling them something useful, right? Perverted cow. Look at this guy, right? Misses everything. Just like right here. None of this is new, by the way. I've been telling him this for years and even recently. So he's just a cow. That's why his dad left him. He's not a good person. He's got little man syndrome galore, right? So he's going to hate you no matter what, even if he pretends to like you so he can hate you more. John 17, another chapter they totally lie about and that destroys their doctrine from head to toe, right? Given glory before the world, right? They lie about that and they don't even understand being given glory. But the real key, everybody, okay, so we already know the people that the Father Yahweh owns in the Old Testament text he's abusing for his lies can't be anyone but the actual Father that Jesus himself said gave him those sheep because they were his. Who else's were they before that? Numbnuts? What a stupid cow. So right here, everybody, verse 6, this is Jesus talking. And so we believe him, not cows. And I'm talking metaphorically. You can be heavy and overweight. You just can't be bloated and a pervert at the same time that can't control yourself. That's a problem. John 17:6, I've revealed your name to the men you gave me out of the world. You gave him these men out of the world, Sam. So whose were they, Sam? Before they were given to Jesus out of the world. Oh, well, let's just see the rest of the verse. They were yours, and you gave them to me. And they have followed your word. Because remember, Sam, Jesus never speaks of his own. The words that he says, they're not his, right? You know the teaching. John 7, John 8, John 10, John 12, all of it right here, John 17. Everything's given to him, Sam, because none of it's his eternally. It's all temporal, just like him, right? So all of this is so easy and obvious. It just takes us unraveling your lies again. That's all. It's so simple. No prep needed. We've done it many times. But yeah, it says right here, Sam, that Jesus has had them follow the Father's word. And Jesus says what he says is not his words. What he teaches is not his. Therefore, all the words he's teaching from the Old Testament are not his. Guess what? The Bible in Acts, Galatians, Romans tells us angels transmitted the whole law. Angels, plural, Sam. Right, stuff you ignore and get wrong all the time. Okay, so there's no way he could be Yahweh eternally, Sam. He doesn't have Yahweh's name eternally. He doesn't have the people eternally like Yahweh in the very text you're reading right now and lying about. And it's not even his word that he's teaching and speaking. I mean, you guys are just gone on all levels. Verse 7, now they have come to know that everything which you have given me is from you. And the words you gave me, I gave to them. And they received them and truly understood that I came forth from you. And they believed that you sent me. We've done this whole chapter. I literally have a video that you can just pull up, John 17, my channel, rather than have us go over this all again. We may come back to it because we're going to get back to his video. But do you see, everybody, how stupid he is? How ignorant he really is? How his only remaining power is just continuing the lies? That's it. It's just a smokescreen to see how many people are still too stupid or haven't heard me, because he knows if he can suppress the truth and promote the lie, he can deceive more people. It absolutely works, and it is what's happening. He's a desperate dragon or a fat pig. And if you don't think he's at war, read Revelation 12. That's pretty much all he's about, and that's why he's given us this pig. But everyone keeps falling for him, so figure that out. All right, let's go back to him and see if we can figure it out. No one knows what he's talking about, right? Not even him. He's gone. Look. I mean, he's literally just detached from reality.
In that definition, the Father and the Son and Spirit are our Father.
Right, but not the Father who bought them, right, Sam? Do you see that right there? Everything you just said has nothing to do with what it is contextually, even cotextually, right? The literal sentence, right? This is how bad you are. This is the extent to which you have sunk, my friend, right? I mean, it's just a catastrophe. And what you've done is you've essentially just gone back through the whole playbook of all lies from all time, right? And just said, these people are so stupid that if they don't hear Staffy, if they don't hear Stafford or other people who are thinking with their brains speak about what they're actually reading, they won't see it. Sam is so confident in his lies, and he's right because it works. The evidence is clear. He can literally have you looking right at a text. But if you're listening to him at the same time, you won't have a clue about what it's saying. And so it makes no difference. Literally ask yourself this question, everybody. Why would you need Sam Shamoun to tell you anything about a text that's not a prophecy? Or a prophecy, right? Anything, really. Maybe you think, oh, well, a Trinity stuff, he's just experienced. Oh, okay. Well, you mean to tell me you can't read this and identify what kind of father we're talking about? The one who bought him, who's Yahweh? And not at least be cautious enough to say, wait a minute. It even calls him the Most High down there, right? And you're trying to tell us this is just Jesus in the collective sense in which they can all be considered a father in a creative sense or a life-giving sense after Jesus is given life, of course, and after everything's out the Father, of course. So it's not the same sense, but we'll go with it. No, Sam, it literally tells us right there in the very verse that you're not highlighting or reading or applying fully. Let's see if you do it.
Without them being God the Father, Son and Spirit.
No, well, we know that. That's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about the Father who bought them. So who's had them the whole time, all the way through to the point where in John 10 and John 17, he gave them to Jesus. Why aren't you explaining that? Because it's literally what's connected to the description of Father right in the verse you're reading, right?
Spirit with the Father are our Father, without them being God the Father. Why? Because all three created all things, give life to all things, sustain all things, oversee, preserve all things, and save all things.
Okay, did they all buy all things? Because Jesus says the Father, they were the Father's. Okay, so there is no, this is again where you're just all liars. You guys got to remember, just don't accept the lie. except what is written, okay? They're professionals at not using what's written while allegedly reading it, okay? Just like right here. So we know from what Jesus says, we just read it, that the people we're reading about right here from the Old Testament that he's showing us, trying to make this connection between the rock whose ways are just and who told the angel, the rock that followed them, everything to say and gave him his name. He doesn't think, therefore, that they can be differentiated as rocks, right? And so he comes here to try to say it's the same rock. And then he realizes while he's doing that, or he's been blown out by me before like I'm doing now, and he anticipates the argument I was giving and says, now that's not God the Father. And then he proceeds to lie about what it means to be Father in this verse. We're not talking about what you can make the word Father to mean, Sam. Why? Because it says, is he not your Father who bought you? So it's that Father. It's not just Father in a general sense among the persons of the Trinity. It's literally identifying the Father who bought them, and you're too stupid or dishonest or both. At this point, I don't know which, so I'm going to go with both. Right? It's right in front of you and you can't see it. The blind, everybody, we already know he's hopeless. We're literally revisiting the proof right now. But I'm trying to emphasize some of this stuff in ways so that those of you who have been trauma bonded or just broken by this pig can heal yourself somehow, or with the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, in the real ways that exist, bring you out of this insanity. Get you away from this fat pig who's got nothing for you. He never did. If he did, he would be giving it to his daughters, and he doesn't even give them you know what. So why would you think he would give you anything different? He doesn't even care about himself. And you think he's going to care about you, huh? This is all just gratuitous work on Sam's part? No, it's him feeding his ego and protecting his insecurities because he couldn't handle it if you didn't believe like he did. He's a baby. He's literally that insecure and childish. He can't even bring himself to read the whole verse and apply it properly. We got to go through this big wild goose chase of him coming up with meanings for Father that are defeated by the very description attached to Father in the verse he's reading, which then destroys the whole argument he's been making between the rock in this verse, in these verses, and the rock that followed them, which is already different on its own, as I explained, in terms of the type of rock and which one is doing what, right? Guy thinks spirit, what's born from spirit is spirit, flesh from flesh, but it's not rock from rock. Or they can't be a different type of rock related to another type of rock that can't possibly be the same rock, because like right here, this is the rock who owns them, and the rock who followed them didn't get them till later. That's how stupid you are. You can't figure out what I just said, and you never will, Sam, because a rock would be better than what's in your head.
No, you can't ask. Go watch from the beginning, dude. Okay? Okay. For Yahweh's portion is his people, Jacob's allotment of his inheritance. Still not convinced Yahweh's the rock?
Okay, did you see right there? He just did it. He just ran by. I know, now, right now I know. What he just did proved to me he knows. And so I've used similar arguments, of course, with Sam. I can't recall every text we've discussed in the ways, but I'm sure this has come up, and the subject sure has, how Jesus can be fathers in ways that Yahweh isn't or is in certain texts. So look at this again. We're going to go probably another 15, 30 minutes. And, so a little over 2 hours total. And then I'll be back again tomorrow. Okay, we'll just keep going until we blow out this video. And We may have to do a lot of parts, and I may mix it up again. By the time we get to this weekend, I'll definitely mix up the other series because it's more fun, right? With Sam and the way we're just stopping it. I'm not planning it. Just what's happening has been pretty wild. That video's a legendary video for clips and pictures, right? See part 1 if you don't believe me. But we'll go another half hour or so. But look at what he did. Look right there. Okay, remember he went from right here. Remember he was at that verse. Is not he your father who bought you? Totally blew it. Lied about what kind of father is in view here, right? Can only be God the Father, the one who owns these people up until the time he gave them to Jesus in the New Testament. He's gone. Then he went from here. Watch what he does here. Watch how fast this guy blows by the next verse he reads once he sees what it says. Look, he already totally ignored this. He never once associated the direct descriptive association of who that is related to. Father, Sam, Father, who has bought you. There's your restrictive description that requires that has to be God the Father. We just proved it. And you're too stupid to see it, or I believe now, what I just saw, and I'm going to show you all now, it proves he's dishonest. I think actually he did see that. How could you not see that, right? How could you be that stupid, especially when I have a John 10 video that literally showed him what I just showed you all from John 10 and John 17 in that video also. So he knows it. He's just being a deceiving pig. Watch how fast he runs by this. Look at this.
Okay.
Right here. Watch this.
For Yahweh's portion is his people, Jacob's allotment of his inheritance. Still not convinced Yahweh's the rock?
See? Do you see how? So he read that, right? And he didn't do anything with it. Look at what it says. Look at that again. Verse 9. For Yahweh's portion is his people. We just proved right here, just like I did in that John 10 video, and just like Jesus does in John 10 and John 17, he's not Yahweh eternally. Otherwise, they would already be his people, Sam. I literally made this argument in that video and you've ignored it. It's another unanswerables. I got to remind myself. Okay, I'll put it in this video. Do an unanswerables proving that Jesus' words in John 10 and John 17, together with Sam's use of the Old Testament text that show that Yahweh already bought and owns these people, shows Jesus can't already be Yahweh until he's given those people. Because otherwise they would already be his people if he is Yahweh. Therefore, it's game over, right? Look at what he did, everybody. He just gave us more reason to believe as we do. Verse 9, Yahweh's portion is his people. Jacob is the allotment of his inheritance. Remember, Jesus becomes heir and is given us. Yahweh already took these people in Deuteronomy 32 as his portion among all the peoples that he divided among the sons of God. This is his portion. It doesn't make him a son of God, by the way. Dan McClone likes to say that, but they're all wrong. We'll get to that more later. Either way, it's very clear. This shows that these are his people. Oh, well, Jesus says they were yours and you gave them to me. So, yes, Sam, this is the Father Yahweh, like the text says. It's not Jesus as the Father, and it's not the Holy Spirit as the person of the Trinity as the Father. It's God the Father, the one who owns those people, just like Jesus says, proving he's not Yahweh and the Father is, and that you're stupid.
For Yahweh's portion is his people, Jacob's allotment of his inheritance. Still not convinced Yahweh's the rock?
No, you just proved Yahweh the Father is the rock who has righteous ways that aren't corrupt. And we already know, and you proved, because we already agree that it's easy to do, that Jesus is the rock that followed them. The angel that was given God's name, so not his name, and who doesn't own these people, because like Jesus says, and you says that that's Jesus and in the rock that followed them. He doesn't own those people, Sam. So he can't be God as he's the rock that follows those people, because he says they were yours. So the rock from the text you were reading is Yahweh. He owns those people. Jesus says they were yours. So there's no way the rock that followed them could be the same rock that already owns those people. Thank you, Sam. You helped us make very clear how the rock that followed them as Jesus, according to 1 Corinthians 10, and Ya'ol as the rock in the text that you were quoting earlier. Let's just make it clear which ones those were, so everyone's clear. He was reading from Deuteronomy 32, and he was identifying Ya'ol as the rock. Verse 4 right there. His work, his ways are just and perfect. It doesn't say he followed them like Paul does in Corinthians. And the rock that followed them, as I said, is the angel who has God's name and speaks his words. But the rock right here, Sam, as you've just proven, already owns these people. Where does it say that? It says right. It's coming up. Maybe Yahweh. Right there in verse 6, you see? Is he not he, your father, who has bought you? So there's no way the rock that followed them, as we all agree is Jesus, could be Ya'ol in the Old Testament. Because he doesn't own the people, Sam. And you're proving right here, Ya'ol the Father does. Ya'ol does. So Ya'ol does. So there's no way if he's Ya'ol, he couldn't already own these people. It's that simple. And so, yes, he's the rock that followed them, the created angel that's given God's name and told what to say. And he does not own the people. Ya'ol the Father is the rock whose ways are just, who already owns these people, and who doesn't follow them like the angel who has been appointed to do that. Any idiot who really tries could see this, but because you're so confused, we had to spend a little extra time with it. Where'd he go? He ran past this part, right? We already did this right there. There's that verse 6 again, proving he's a liar, that he's actually shown, he's proven the rock that followed them is not the rock from Deuteronomy 32. That's clear, is it not, everybody? Sam has proven that and thinks he proved the opposite. That's how stupid he is. He also saw it right here. I think he's not totally stupid, just dishonest as well. So he ran away. Actually, you know how he usually just rolls? Somehow, this scared him to death, right? So he ran past verse 9, seeing that it says Yahweh's portion is his people, and how Jesus, as the rock who followed them, didn't have these people as his own, but had to be given them later because they were yours, but you gave them to me. Game over. No Trinity.
Portion
right?
is this. Notice it says.
Yeah, no, we'll see, Sam. Okay, we'll start him from here. We'll take a little bit more screeching. I can only handle so much. About another 20 minutes. We'll go to 10 o'clock. What's 10 my time, okay? So about another 18 minutes with this pervert.
Allotment of his inheritance. Still not convinced Yahweh's the rock?
No, that's never been the issue. The question is the rock that followed them Yahweh or Ya'ol? And we already know that's not the case, but we just exposed you for lying and being stupid and not recognizing the differences between the rock, whose ways are just, and the rock who's told what to say, created angel, and who follows them the whole way. He's not the one who owns the people. The rock whose ways are just is the one who does, according to the rock that followed them. So you're literally calling the rock who followed them a liar just to make yourself look better. That's how disgusting you are.
Notice it says he fed them, right? Deuteronomy 32:15. But Jeshurun grew fat and kicked. Why? Because the rock fed them.
It's just funny for me to see Sam reading those words. Grew fat, right?
Gave them drink. Then he abandoned God who made him and treated the rock of his salvation with great foolishness. Oh, there's the rock again.
Yeah, you mean the rock who owns them? You mean the rock who Jesus said was not him because they were yours, but you gave them to me. So he couldn't possibly be Ya'ol, whose people these already are. And it's definitely the Father here for sure, right? Because Jesus makes that clear by saying they were yours, talking to the Father. But you gave them to me. It couldn't be any more clear, again, unless you're just a complete catastrophe.
was the God who fed them, sustained them, but they rebelled against him.
Yeah, where does it say he followed them? It just says he's the rock of their salvation here. And we already know that he's the rock who owns them. So again, you have not made any kind of connection. You've broken the connection. What you've shown from Deuteronomy 32 has proven that the rock who followed them did not own these people. Because that's exactly what Jesus says. Therefore, the rock who owns these people is not the rock who followed them, which is the created angel who's given God's name or has God's name, so it's not his name, and only speaks what God tells him to. Just like Jesus. So you've done nothing but prove our doctrine, and you've actually given us new arguments to help become more clear. Deuteronomy 32 is only talking about the Father. It could only be that way because otherwise Jesus already owned these people. And he says he didn't, and the Father gave him not only these people, but everything. So it's real simple, Sam. You can stop lying anytime.
They made him jealous with strange gods, with abominations.
Yeah, like you guys do, and that's why you're going to be punished.
They provoked them to anger. They sacrificed. And by the way, Paul uses this very text later on to warn the Corinthians not to do what the Israelites did by going to pagan temples from which they used to frequent and offering sacrifices to idols, which are sacrifices to demons who are not God, and angering the Lord Jesus and provoking him to punish them.
No, actually, Paul in Galatians doesn't mention demons. That's a lie. And even if he's referring to this account, it very clearly says the demons who were not God. So it doesn't refer to all demons, just the ones who were not God or gods, however you want to translate that. We'll look at it closer next when he gets more into it. It also refers to strange gods in start in verse 16, and then it says, gods they have not known. New gods who came lately, whom your fathers did not dread. So you're conflating all of these gods as demons who are not God or gods or divine. We'll look at the text, Deuteronomy 32, 17, see what it says. Hang on. Oh, sorry. We're just going to go for about 10 more minutes, so thank you for joining me. Let me just check real quick, see how you guys are doing. Good to see you guys. I don't know if I said hi to everyone, too. I might have neglected that. Let me do it now. Randy Kalakalar. Yeah, the core account was insane. Bankhead, very nice. True and Glue, thank you. Appreciate that. Randy Kalakalar, thank you for that. Overence. Looks like you're having a good time. Betsy, very nice. Theology Experience, we didn't ask you for your opinion. You've given us unsolicited advice to show that you're a baby and should go back home and learn how to treat people you don't know when we don't ask for your opinion about other people that we identify as a pervert, a heretic, and a child abuser. The very fact that you won't deal with him and you come here to criticize us for dealing with him shows you're either Sam or stupid. Ken Anderson. You should make of it that Paul's not a false prophet, right? He literally says on last days they'll be saying peace and security. Sounds like that to me. Now, how long last days are is another question. But you can figure that out, Ken. Don't burden people, right? Everyone should pretty much be able to figure out most things, especially stuff like that. If not, you might not believe. So everyone should be careful. People who want you to research or ask questions, Ken, even you should be coming to us, giving us information, not asking us to do research for you. Choker, very nice. That's very Czar. Pumped up. NC Brandon, very nice. We've got some good people. Good to see you all. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at Deuteronomy 32:17, just so we can see what the term is behind. This is the verse we're reading, just real quickly to remind you, since we took a break. The sacrifice of demons who were not God. Sam's misrepresenting this whole text, right? Everything he said had gone. Well, let's just, so we have good information as we're discussing it on that issue, because it just says God, and sometimes that can be Elohim, which could be gods, right? Eloha, right? Not to God. So, Sam, it's not even saying that they're not gods. It's just saying they sacrifice to demons, not to God. But to gods they didn't know, to new ones. So this is like a recent thing from other gods, strange gods, like it said, and it doesn't say anything about them not being gods. It says they sacrifice to them, not to God. So you're literally retarded, right? That's pretty clear by now.
He takes this very text and applies it to Christ.
No, and you have it all wrong, and I just explained it, and we'll do it again. He does bring up Galatians 4 again elsewhere, so this will come up again.
Okay? They made him jealous with strange gods. With abominations they provoked him to anger. Love you, Kitty. They sacrificed demons who are not God, to gods whom they have not known, new gods who came lately, whom your father did not dread. You neglected the rock who begot you and forgot the God who brought you forth. So wait.
Oh, so God can beget others besides his only begotten son? So this is eternal? Some of you who believe in eternal, of course, predestination might say, yeah, Greg, it is. Either way, it's just strange how you and Athanasius and others, you think that begot is somehow not a temporal term, whether figurative or literal, and it always is in both, right? So weird.
The rock that saved them, formed them, fashioned them, delivered them is God. And who is this God? Yahweh. And yet here we're told the rock who fed them, nourished them, gave them to drink, followed them, was Christ.
So did you see what he just did? Right? He literally lined up Deuteronomy 32 with 1 Corinthians 10 and tried to make it seem like the rock that followed them, who's even he agrees, the angel that has God's name, not the angel's name, and who speaks only what God tells him. So he's the visible and audible representation only of God, not himself. It's an angel, right? He tries to connect that rock that's following them with God described as a rock in Deuteronomy 32. This is 1 Corinthians 10. That's not following them. It never says that. It says the rock's perfect in all his ways, his counsels are just, and that he's the father who bought the people, that they're his possession, his allotment. Because it's literally talking about the division of the peoples of the earth and how this is his. So he owns, these are his people. That's how we know that the rock that followed them is not Yahweh, and how we know that the rock Yahweh of Deuteronomy 32 is the Father, the person of the Father. Whether you want to believe in the Trinity or not, that's the Father. It's not Jesus as the Father in a creative sense like he lied about, because Jesus makes it clear those were yours, and he's talking to the Father. They were yours, and you gave them to me out of the world. And these are my sheep. They hear my voice. They were yours. He's talking about them. So there's no way you could be correct. You've literally disproven yourself once again while attempting to misuse Bart Ehrman, who, even if he says things that agree with how you misunderstand these things, are inconsistent with your disparaging of him at the beginning of this very video. And he's not a theologian or a Trinitarian specialist. New Testament textual criticism, my friend. And so all you're doing is showing how you rely on the wrong people, bad arguments, and you don't even read and apply the text that you're citing. They literally contradict you and provide a wall, a barrier that you can't get through to make your connection. Because Jesus refutes you in John 10 and John 17, just like I spent 2+ hours proving to you, but you're too stupid to watch and respond to it. You'd rather just keep lying to people so that you feel better about yourself while you masturbate. Well, we're not going to let you do that, okay? We're going to continue to expose you, Sam. You're a hypocrite and a liar and a bad person. You attack people, their families. You provide no contribution to anything except the sewer system. So there's no reason for you to be in this environment and continuing to cause division, disruption, all the attacks and stuff you're doing to everybody. It's not just me, but yeah, that's a big problem, of course, for me and my family. So you're a cancer, Sam. You're a bitch. Okay, someone should have knocked you out a long time ago if they had any manliness in them at all for the things you've said about people, their mothers, your abuse of your own kids, your failure to understand the Bible on almost every level imaginable. It's a disgrace. You're disgusting in almost every way, if not. We don't need you, Sam. We don't need you talking about the Bible anymore, and we never did. Did you know that? Did you know you're not needed? You provide no benefit, Sam. All anyone would have to do is pick up a few books that you've gotten your arguments from, including mine, or some church fathers, and they'd be just fine and much better than you, because even they probably wouldn't be as stupid. Okay, you've read a lot, Sam, you're experienced, but you are not smart. And if you are, if all this that we've been watching tonight and your horrific failure to understand basic stuff, right? Almost everything. Spiritual, you can't figure out what's physical. You can't figure out there's a second Adam there that he's talking about that's the second man, who, when he's resurrected as a spirit, is out of heaven, but it's referring to him as the second last Adam in the second man sense reference. You just have no ability, or no ability to understand. You have ability to cite and lie, but you're either really stupid in spite of that, or, and I think this is true, I think you're just so dishonest at this point, like we saw what you did in Deuteronomy 32 and elsewhere, but there it was very blatant. You literally ran from the second instance in Deuteronomy 32 where it disproved your view of who the Father is. Right? And you of all people know my arguments on John 10 and John 17 and how they weren't Jesus' people. It was literally a big issue that you used on Dr. White in our debate to mislead him away from the real issue because you're a chicken. Okay, you can't handle being wrong, Sam. Guess what? You're wrong, pal. You're fat, bald, dickless, and wrong. You couldn't be any worse unless your father abandoned you. Oh, I guess it is worse, right? Like, as bad as it could be on every level, so much so that you've reached the point where there are no more levels. You're the worst that you could be. You attack everybody and their mothers, even those who go out of their way to try to show you appreciation for teaching them how to lie. You can't even get along with those people. You can't stop abusing your kids live for one session while you have them, and you complain about why you don't have enough time with them. You literally have them with you, dude. So you can answer your own prayer immediately, but you don't do it because you don't care. You're a liar. And we're sick of you poisoning these environments like the pig bitch you are. So get your ass up here and let's see what you have to say. Why don't you do your job and start playing my videos so everyone can hear me and see if you're actually responding, because you never do. All you do is lie to people, pretend like you're responding, like you're doing during this very live, to keep people from making you feel like the baby you are. Because the worst thing for you, Sam, is to be exposed. Because the lie is the only thing that makes you feel better about yourself. Congratulations. You've officially peaked out on being pathetic. Now, we'll be back tomorrow to continue here. Again, I don't want these to be too long. I'd like to keep them around 2 hours or so. And we will keep going. We'll leave it right there at 2 hours, 33:03. And we'll pick up right there where he went insane, totally blew everything on 1 Corinthians 10, 1 Corinthians 15, Deuteronomy 32. The guy literally blew himself out over Korah, over 24 videos. 45% of his videos have been about Korah in the last 2 months. Now, how much whacking off you think that translates to? Yeah, it's a lot, okay? So the guy's really a miserable pile of garbage, and he uses these things to gratify himself. He lies about the Bible to gratify himself, because then he feels like people are listening to him, not God. It's sick, I know. So if you haven't figured that out yet, I hope you find God, because you're not going to find him with Sam Shamoun. That's for sure. But I hope you'll join us tomorrow, and you'll find more reason why you should reject Sam, expose him, and tell everybody he has nothing to do with the Bible. He never did. He's a liar, a bad father, and he cannot become responsible as a Christian man for any reason. There is no reason that will motivate him, not his health, not his family, not God. And what does God tell Christians? If you don't take care of your family, you're worse than an unbeliever. If you don't work, you don't eat. And yet this fatso just sits here and stuffs himself while not working. He's literally repeating himself. There's no effort here. If this is work, then he's as in good a shape as me, which outside of Jesus Christ Reigns videos is not true. With that having been said, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful evening. I'll be back tomorrow, and we're going to keep pounding Sam into the ground where he belongs. Not literally, unless the laws change and they appoint me somehow, right? Because he does deserve it. Outside of that, I'm not here to force anything. He has crossed every line conceivable, and he deserves to be punished severely. So we'll let the Father take care of that. He blasphemes him, the Father and the Son, every day. He's going to get it. So please stay away from Sam unless you're here to do like I'm doing and expose him for what he is. You'll be helping a lot of people if you do so, and you should not listen to others who follow proven liars while telling you how to live your life. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow, and may God bless you in Jesus' name. Be helping a lot of Have a wonderful evening, everybody.